Radcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Radcast. Coming up on the holidays, we got our holiday spirit here. Riley has decorated the podcast room, and I'm feeling festive and excited to have Sal Di Stefano here, the host of Mind Pump and I guess owner of Mind Pump Media or co-owner. What else can we call you, Sal?
General nice guy.
General nice guy. All right, we can go with that. I really appreciate you coming on the Radcast, and you opened my eyes a little bit. I love some of your comments on Instagram, and caught my eye. Then I started following some of your other stuff. So great to have you on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it, man. I know you guys are on the cutting edge of some of the fitness business, everything you're doing with Mind Pump. But let's give everyone that's listening just a little background on Sal and all things Mind Pump.
Yeah, no problem. So I've been a professional in the fitness industry for quite a long time. I started at the age of 18. I'm 41 now, so that's over 2 decades. About 6 years ago, started Mind Pump Media with my partners Adam, Justin, and Doug. And the goal at the time, it's the same goal that we have now, was to provide just true, unbiased, raw fitness information. The fitness industry is just rife with crap, terrible information. It's mainstream fitness very, very frequently lies to people or preys on their insecurities. And as trainers, it was very frustrating for us. I probably daily, I would say I would have to overcome some kind of myth or, this supplement said it's supposed to help me burn body fat. And, this new diet is this thing that my friend tried. I think I want to try it out. And so we would just have to constantly overcome these myths. And it was quite frustrating as a trainer, especially wanting to really, truly help people. And so we did that for a long time as trainers. And, years went by. I met my co-hosts and we decided to start a podcast. We figured this would be a great way to reach more people. And it very quickly took off. Mind Pump grassroots just kind of exploded through word of mouth. And about a year into it, we quit our side jobs, I should say, or our main jobs. I sold my wellness studio. I had a wellness studio with personal trainers and massage therapists, acupuncturists, the whole deal. Sold that. Everybody else stopped kind of personal training, and we focused full-time on Mind Pump Media. And today we have the top fitness, and we call it the Fitness Entertainment Podcast. We also entertain people with current events and fun conversation. We figure we reach more people that way, and I think that's true. We have a YouTube channel that reaches people with exercise demos and other ways of communicating fitness. We have written content. And so we're a full-on media company, new media, right? Podcast, YouTube, and written information through the internet.
I love it. A man after my own heart, the amplification of media. There's a lot to unpack there, but I will start. I love the intertwining of entertainment with fitness. I think that's where a lot of people get wrong. I think with media and content is they kind of hammer you over the head with all the science and the speeds and feeds, but they forget that we're all human and we all want to be entertained a bit.
Absolutely. And, a big thing with the fitness space is when at the time when we started the company, when we looked at what the fitness industry was providing, you either had like you said, the heavy science segments, and there was a few of those. And then you had the entertain, marketing, sexy looking, bullcrap side of the fitness industry. Now, the problem with that side was that all the information they were promoting was terrible. And the problem with the science side is that they were in an echo chamber. The people that would listen to that were other fitness professionals or trainers or other science-minded fitness people. They weren't reaching the masses. So you had the the flashy marketing, bullcrap side that was reaching the masses with terrible information. Then you had the good information that was reaching nobody. Now, here's the thing. When we started the company, none of us had any experience with media whatsoever. No, we never did podcasts. We were never on video. But we understood how to communicate fitness very effectively because we had trained people for so long. And we were all very successful trainers. And one thing you learn when you train people, everyday people, right? Because we're dealing with general population. We didn't specialize in high performance athletes. We didn't specialize in bodybuilder competitors. We specialized in training everyday people, getting the average person to develop a long-term good relationship with exercise, nutrition, solving the obesity epidemic, if you will, with the people that are suffering from it the most. And one thing you learn as a trainer is, yeah, you got to be a good trainer. You got to be able to communicate the right stuff, but your clients also got to want to see you every time they come train with you. They want to be around you. So your workouts need to be somewhat fun. Conversation needs to be good. The person needs to enjoy seeing you because most of these people are not fitness fanatics. Most people don't love working out like their personal trainers do. So that entertainment piece was very important as a trainer. We knew you had to be that kind of a person if you're going to get the average person to show up for week after week and month after month and year after year. And then eventually they develop a great relationship with fitness on their own. But initially it's like, why are they showing up? Why are they coming to see you? Besides the results, it's also they want to be there. So that was our intention with the podcast is, okay, we're reaching the average person. So part of that is we got to be fun to listen to. So a lot of our episodes start off with a 30 to 40 minute intro portion, which is current events. We tell stories. We have a lot of fun. Then the back half of the episode, we really get deep into the fitness. And it's been a winning formula. We've been able to reach a lot of people that I think we wouldn't have been able to reach otherwise.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk about the fitness business. COVID's poured gas on a lot of fires that were trending anyway. I think fitness is one of them, which was this notion of virtual training that had picked up. You have Peloton and others that have been growing in the space, and COVID comes along and kind of accelerates everything online. Is that 100% of you guys' business at this point? I heard you mentioned you kind of shut down some of the brick and mortar stuff, and I don't know if that's a 100% switch, or talk about some of the opportunities and challenges with going virtual.
Great question. Yeah, COVID, the forced lockdowns of gyms has just really crushed that segment of the fitness industry. And the in my opinion, the message was totally wrong. The message is the gym is the most dangerous place to be right now. When in reality, the up until now, your best defense against illness is preventing, it's strengthening your immune system and not having comorbidities like obesity or diabetes. So that's.
I mean, just to go down that path real fast, imagine the impact if the government got us behind getting people truly healthy as they have with shutting down things and locking them down and eating more Twinkies.
It's incredible. It's absolutely silly. Gym. Here's the thing. Okay. There's a few reasons why gyms are actually quite safe in the COVID era. Okay, first off, gyms take lots of precautions, separating equipment, taking temperatures of people, making sure people wear masks and all that stuff. But besides that, there's something called a self-selection bias, okay? I've worked in gyms forever, okay? I've worked out in gyms since I was 14, every day. I lived in gyms as a professional for 2 decades. People don't go to the gym when they don't feel good. They just don't. Now, they still go out to eat. They still go out shopping. They still go to the bar sometimes. But most people don't go to the gym when they feel under the weather. So
100% right.
You're surrounded by people who are probably not sick, and you're surrounded by people who are health-minded. And honestly, again, taking care of and not just the physical stuff. Now, that's obvious, right? You work out, you're not obese, you got better insulin sensitivity, you're less likely to have diabetes, all these comorbidities that are so prevalent in the population of people that have severe COVID symptoms. But there's another aspect that is the mental aspect. physical fitness and exercise, and this isn't just my opinion, studies have proven this, is as effective or more effective in the long term at treating things like depression and mild to moderate depression and anxiety. Okay. You know what's exploding right now? Depression and anxiety. So you're taking that away from people, stay at home, watch the news, freak out. You might reduce some infection rates, but mental health is going haywire. You're seeing suicides explode. I just read an article that Japan had more suicides than COVID deaths recently. Children depression is going up. So it's just insane. But now that we've made that point, I like to make that point.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you made it because it drives me crazy.
It drives me absolutely nuts. And don't even get me started on treating free people like children. I mean, if we're really free people, you inform us, we make our choices, we take our own risks.
Yeah, I know.
Besides,
we'd go a whole different avenue there.
Yeah, don't get me started. I'll go off. Right? But, I mean, look at my shirt, right? I love fitness. I love freedom. So
I like it.
But as far as online fitness is concerned, yes, they've effectively shut down and destroyed a segment of the fitness industry, in particular the brick and mortar gym business. But the demand for fitness is still there. So the fitness industry or people in the fitness space have had to pivot to meet that demand. So you're seeing more online fitness offerings. I know Peloton, you brought that up. I know their share value has exploded, and they're selling more bikes than they actually can produce at the moment. I think they have a production problem at the moment. The demand is so high. So people still want to work out. People still want fitness. They still want to see other people. And so the fitness space is trying to figure out kind of how to meet that. I know a few trainers who were trainers in the brick and mortar gym who've now pivoted to meeting people in their homes and training them. By the way, the black market for fitness is exploding right now because of the lockdowns. So you're starting to see these like speakeasy gyms, kind of like Prohibition era, bars. Starting to see black market personal training. People are having trainers come to their homes or train them in parks. People are feeling it. They need to move. They need to be around other people. They need to work out. So I think if you're in the fitness space and you're suffering because of these lockdowns, the demand is still there. You just got to figure out how to pivot.
How has business been for you guys? I mean, obviously, like we said, more online fitness shoppers, for lack of better words. But how do you separate yourself?
Okay, well, so we're a digital company, right? So our podcast is, downloaded YouTube. You can watch online. So from that aspect, we were protected quite a bit. Now one way that we monetize is by selling fitness programs. A lot of our fitness programs were easier to do if you had gym access, right? So they would utilize dumbbells, barbells, benches, squat racks, that kind of stuff. But we did have programs that were that we had created before for people who want to work out at home that require minimal equipment. One program in particular called Maps Anywhere, where you need resistance bands and your body, and then you can do the whole workout. Well, when this all kind of went down, we saw a huge spike in sales for our Maps Anywhere program, which at the time it was one of I'd say it was probably on the lower end of our sales. I would say our gym programs were much more popular. But when this all went down, Maps Anywhere went through the roof. Then we created another at-home program called Map Suspension that uses suspension trainers. And then what we did is we added a modification to most of our programs, I should say, where you could follow all of them with just a pair of dumbbells. So that way, people could follow the programs and still do them at home. So that's what we noticed there. As far as people tuning into the podcast, we saw a small dip in downloads initially, maybe because people didn't work out at first because the lockdowns first started. Everybody was staying at home. But then that came back pretty quickly. So I think we're probably feeling some of the economic effects of what's going on. But because we're constantly growing, it's hard to tell. Because we're still growing. I just don't know if we're growing as fast as we would have. But because we're digital based, we were largely protected. I can only imagine how challenging it would have been had we been a gym, a brick and mortar.
Yeah. Talk about the marketing. Obviously you guys are smart. You guys do what we do with podcasting and people ask me all the time, how do you monetize the podcast? And it's like, every other person that hires us brings up the podcast, so it takes care of itself. I'm sure it's similar for you guys, but talk about other marketing approaches along with maybe how you use the podcast.
Yeah. So when we first started Mind Pump, the goal really was to build some authority first at large, right? So when you're talking about me and my partners, especially my co-hosts Adam and Justin, we had been trainers for a long time here in the San Jose, California Bay Area, right? And we had a reputation in this area just because we'd been here for so long. We'd managed lots of gyms, but outside this area, nobody knew who we were. So if we were going to sell any fitness programs online, you want to have some kind of authority, or you want to look like Mr. Olympia. None of us look like Mr. Olympia. So, we're just, regular, guys that like to work out. So how do we build authority? And we thought a podcast was a great way to do it. It's long form media, right? So when you listen to a podcast, it's 30 minutes, an hour and a half long. And in my opinion, our opinion, that's the best way to really communicate fitness and health properly. It's fitness and health is not something you can communicate properly in a 30-second commercial. That's how you get the wrong information. So it's a great medium. We knew that our knowledge would come across. We thought it was a great way again to build authority. So we started with that, and the idea was, let's see how much value we can bring our whatever audience follows us. And so a couple decisions we made right out the gates was, number one, let's do a lot of podcasts. There's two reasons for that. And what I mean by a lot is we do 5 episodes a week.
Wow.
Couple reasons for that. One thing that we learned through our experience with fitness was, if you want to get good at something, you got to practice. You got to do a lot of reps. Okay. None of us had media experience. So we said, okay, however awesome we think we are, we did think we were pretty cool.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So you got to have a slightly higher level of narcissism, I think, to do any of this stuff, right? So we thought we were pretty awesome, but we were also, trying to be objective. And we're like, look, we've never done media, and to be honest with ourselves, we're probably going to suck. So let's do a lot of podcasts so that we get reps, right? So in a year, we will have a lot of practice. So let's do that. And number two, lots of podcasts allows us to just provide tons of value to whoever is listening to our show. Just tons of free information, tons of value. And then let's see what that looks like. Well, at the end of that first year, and by the way, we sold nothing the first year. We didn't have a goal of selling anything. The goal literally was build an audience, provide them with a ton of value, and see if we can build some deserved authority. Let's see if people really think that they like what we have to say, and then we'll figure out what to do from there. So after about a year, our podcast was growing quite rapidly. People were messaging us pretty often that they hoped that we had a program or something that they could purchase or some way they could support us. So after about a year, we had a meeting and we said, okay, I think it's time to monetize. Let's see how our audience responds. So we sold our first program, which was MAPS Anabolic, and it took off. It did very well, and that's what we did. We did that for the first 3 years. We sold fitness programs. This is how we monetized, and the way that people heard about our programs, the way people thought that our programs would be good programs in comparison to others, was that they listened to the podcast. After about 3 years, the podcast got big enough to where we thought maybe we could start looking at sponsorships. I think there's a big misconception with people when they start podcasts that they're going to make a lot of money with sponsorships. That doesn't happen until you're already kind of big. Otherwise, you're not going to do very well with that. So we had gotten to a point where we'd gotten some authority. We'd gotten to a decent size, and we had people approaching us wanting to sponsor us. We're very, very picky with who we work with. We're trainers first, media personalities or second. So we wanted things that we really believed in, and so we started to work with companies that sponsored us, and then that became a big part of our revenue as well. So sponsorships, program sales are two of the main ways that we now monetize. And the way that we talk about our sponsors on the podcast is pretty different from most podcasts. I know the traditional way of doing that would be to open your show with a commercial, like this episode brought to you by whatever, use my code for 15% off. But the way we talk about our sponsors is we try to keep it as genuine and as authentic as possible. So, and the only way for this to work, of course, is to work with companies and brands that we actually, whose products we actually use on a regular basis. So when we do an episode, we know that, for example, today I'm supposed to mention Butcher Box. That's one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
And so, and I know this ahead of time. So I know, okay, Wednesday I'm going to talk about Butcher Box. Well, by the time Wednesday comes, I will have used one of their products. I will have, used the tri-tip, or I would have done something with the company. So then I can bring that up in conversation. So it's a very genuine plug for the sponsor. And we felt that this would be more effective at converting sales, and it was a more genuine way of selling, of talking about our partners and selling their products. And we're right, our conversion rates are very, very good in compared to industry standards. And so we've continued to do that. On the back end, my partner Adam manages all those partnerships with sponsors, and we are constantly in communication with how well we're doing, what the conversions look like. We send them the clips of the episodes when we talk about them. And we're constantly meeting with them. And then we use our other media to make up for the difference if the podcast doesn't deliver, which is rare. But if that does happen, then you'll see us talking about our sponsors on our Instagrams, or even potentially using our email list to boost up their conversions or whatever. And so we've developed these really, really good relationships with our sponsors, and that's now, again, like I said, a large part of how we fund this company.
That's cool, man. You call yourself fitness enthusiast first and media personality second. I'd say pretty damn good marketers. You don't know how many clients I talk to that I try to convince to do the same things you guys have pulled off.
Yeah, what's funny, Ryan? So not so much now because of the lockdowns, but before this all the lockdowns happened, I would go to local gyms and I would speak to trainers, and I would talk to them about building their businesses and how to become successful with their clients and how to get their clients better results. And the way that I would open these talks, and I think you'll appreciate this, is I'd be in a room with 50 trainers, and I'd say, raise your hand and tell me the most important skills and attributes a successful trainer has. And then I would define success as a trainer who got clients great lifelong results, as a trainer who had a great client base who really valued them, and someone who could really support themselves following their passion of personal training. And then people would raise their hands, and I would get things like, a really good successful trainer needs to be passionate, and I write that down. And then they'd say something like, they need to be very knowledgeable, they need to be very motivating, they need to be very inspirational, they need to be very empathetic. And those are all very great qualities, okay? But then I would cross them out, and I'd say, now those are important, but there's one skill that is more important than all of those, and that is effective communication skills. And now I'm going to call it by something you've heard before, sales skills. And I'd see all their faces kind of like look at me very confused. And trainers hate to hear that, by the way. They hate to hear that sales is a part of their job. And I'd say, look, every single time, your goal as a trainer is to get this person who's sitting in front of you, the average person, to make fundamental lifestyle changes. These are very hard. I mean, 90% of people who go on diets or start workouts fail. This is a fact. You're trying to get someone to make fundamental changes to their lifestyle, to start and consistently start exercising, to change their diet. That is very hard. Our diet is like a part of who we are. It's our culture. It's how we celebrate. It's how when we're sad, when we're stressed. I mean, there's so much dysfunction around food, and you're trying to get these people to change these things permanently. And the way you do that is you take what you know and what you understand and you transfer it to that person and get them to understand it. And that takes the most effective sales skills that you could ever use ever. I mean, you got to be a better salesman than the best salespeople that sell cars or houses or whatever. So those are very important skills. And so if you're a successful trainer, if you've been a trainer for 15 years and you do a great job, you've really learned how to sell it very, very well. And so when you look at Mind Pump and you say we're great marketers, really it's just the skills we learned training clients. Like, how do I get Mrs. Johnson to change her diet for the rest of her life? Man, I got to really sell her, and I got to do it effectively, every time I see her, twice a week for the next 6 months that she's with me. And then I got to be so effective at it that she does it forever. Like, that's a hard thing to do. But through trial and error, you really learn how to do it well.
Yeah, and you guys are doing it well. I would add in there likability, and then of course I do wonder with the virtual stuff. So many trainers are like counselors. Like how you guys manage that aspect of it is
actually more of the job than anything. I tell you, is dealing with the root. I'll give you one example. Let's look at the root motivation as to why somebody is working out or changing their diet in the first place. The root motivation for most people is that there's something about themselves that they don't like, or usually something that they hate. So I hate my belly. I feel fat. I feel gross. I need to work out, right? That's how most people start. Now, the problem with that motivation is that motivation or that impetus will never produce a lifelong relationship with fitness and health. Here's your evidence, okay? When somebody stops, trying to eat right or stops working out, the average person, you often will hear something like this. Like, you'll talk to your friend and be like, hey, what happened to that diet? Why'd you stop doing that? And they'll say, oh, man, I just want to enjoy life. I just want to live my life. Or why'd you stop working out? Oh, man, I just want to, look, man, I just got sick of it. I just want to enjoy my life. Now, there's a clue right there, right? What do you mean enjoy your life? They must have really hated what they were doing. Now, if we can switch the root impetus from self-hate to self-care, right, to self-love, I'm here to work out because I want to take care of myself, because I care about myself. I'm going to the gym because I deserve to be healthy. I'm eating right because I am somebody worth taking care of. Well, now you have that creates a lifelong relationship. It also creates a lot of balance. The person that is motivated by self-hate, when they fall off the wagon, when they go off the diet, they don't just go off the diet, they go in the opposite direction. They tend to rebel as if they were oppressing themselves. Like you offer them a cookie and they're like, no, I can't have it when they're on the diet. And then when they go off, they're like, rebellion, I'm going to eat a whole box of cookies. Somebody who's doing it from a point of view of self-care, there's a lot of balance. Yeah, I'll have a cookie. I think it's okay now. I've been eating pretty good, and I'm enjoying this time we're spending together. And then the next day, like, I don't want a cookie. It's not I can't. It's I don't want. Right.
Yep.
So the psychological aspect is so key to being a personal trainer. It's everything. I mean, if you can't get that person to shift there, then all you're ever going to get is a person who follows what you tell them when they're motivated, and then inevitably motivation falls off because we're human. Everybody goes up and down with motivation. When they fall off, they're done. And that's what everybody does. You see people, they start a program in January, they fall off by March, and we'll do that again next year, type of deal.
Where's all this headed, Sal? I mean, are you guys like planners? Are you like, you strike me as you've got a plan, but you're kind of letting the cards fall where they may. But where are we headed with Mind Pump?
Yeah, so we're extremely transparent. I'm so glad you asked me that. In fact, we love it when people ask us plans in the business, and we'll say everything. So here are the plans, right? We're going to continue to build this media company, continue to get it to grow. Once the podcast gets really big, if everything works out well, then we're probably going to get off all other social media. None of us really like the social media aspect of this. We really don't. It's such a social media is kind of a weird world.
To say the least.
Say the least.
Yeah, and it's full of a lot of garbage, to be quite honest. So once the podcast gets real big and we're doing great, we're going to get off all social media, maintain the podcast. On the side, we've started another business. It's an investment side of the business where we're trying to grow our wealth so that at some point that becomes a very large source of passive income. And then when we get to the point where the passive income is good, the podcast is real good, then we're really going to get to a point where we're not going to care about downloads. We're not going to care about. We're just going to go and have fun and just see what happens, type of deal. But right now we're trying to set ourselves up to be able to do that. But for the time being, to grow this business, we're doing the social media thing. It's a great way to reach people. We're going to continue to build the podcast, and we're going to continue to invest in our investment side. Take a paycheck that maintains us, and then put the rest into something that'll grow, so that we can set ourselves up, hopefully 5 to 10 years, where we can look at this thing and say, all right, what do we want to do and what don't we want to do? And to be honest with you, what'll probably stick around is just the podcast.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And there's so many people I talk to that the podcast and that media that it develops can be the Trojan horse for any development of a brand, if they want it to be with just the platform, because you can atomize all of that content and then you can build and layer like you guys have with ways you monetize it. So brilliant. And send my best to Adam and Justin. So the rest of the team, you guys are killing it. Sal, tell everybody where to keep up with you.
Yeah, no problem. You can find the podcast. It's Mind Pump. It's on all platforms. You can find me on Instagram personally at Mind Pump Sal, and then the website is mindpumpmedia.com.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate your time, Sal. Let's do the follow up. Down the road next year, maybe sometime. Love to stay in touch.
Absolutely. And Ryan, if you really want to get deep into the business, you got to talk to my partner Adam. He's that guy's a business wizard, and I think you guys have a lot of fun.
Love to do that. So maybe we'll line him up next. But Sal, man, have a great one. Really appreciate you coming on. We want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Radcast. You can follow along at the.rad.cast on Instagram, and of course everything Radcast at theradcast.com. We'll see you next time.